Okay, so I started the YouTube recording, so people can refer to this after the fact. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to set up the muxer correctly. I think that's what it's called on my machine, which means that I'll have to repeat any questions you guys ask as we're going. Um, but the fun part is we can actually we can go through upgrading a model together, and yeah, you guys can ask some live questions as we go. YouTube might be able to hear you depending on how crappy my headset is and how much it feeds back through, but um, I've it, we're trying this. If this works out well, I might do this a little bit more often. But yeah, so I've got the E6 set up. This is the one I did previously. Um, so this is what we're going to be patterning off. So I've already done most of the work here, but I want to go through and effectively do it all again with the A5. The A5 is a little bit simpler, but nothing has been modified. This is the original model from quite a while ago. I think 2007 or 2017, 2018. So before I hop on, before I go too deeply into this, let me give a quick introduction. A lot has changed in immersive railroading in the past couple versions, and a lot is especially going to change in the 1.10 version, which is hopefully releasing within the next week or so. And there's a lot of stuff that has been changed for modelers. All existing models should work as well as they do today, but there's going to be a lot new functionality that I think I'm hoping that seeing my perspective as the one who wrote the code on how I tend to animate stuff within the cab. I'm hoping that's going to be helpful. And this is actually not the latest test build. This is missing the GUI work, which is why this still looks kind of funny. But effectively, none of the code has changed there. So if anyone does open up these files in Immersive Railroading Assets, there's some weird stuff you have to go through. Because it's a newer Blender version, if you're using a newer Blender version, you have to click Use Nodes and actually choose the base color texture to get this stuff to work. But that's the only thing that's the only prep I've done to this model. So unless there's any initial questions, I think I'm just going to hop in and start updating the model. Holy cow, there's a lot of you guys on. Yep. Now this is a party. Okay. Alright, and just for the people who have just joined, this is being recorded on YouTube. I don't know how much folks on YouTube will be able to hear what you're saying. It depends on how badly my microphone is set up. Okay. So here's the E6, which has been upgraded, and here is the A5. So let me save this as is. And let's start with something that I didn't actually do on the other model, which should be kind of fun, is brake. So this is actually kind of interesting where it looks like it's a piston-driven brake. So this whole assembly should move forward. So it should move. Oh, I gotta figure out how to turn off that. There we go. Also, feel free to yell out in my ear like, you're doing this wrong in Blender, because I am very much not good at Blender. Okay, that's true. Alright, so that is... So I'm using this to figure out... If you look at the bottom left corner of my screen, you can see the readout for how much this is moving. And I'm going to guess that... Let's just say 0.06 is what we want to do. So, we're going to rename... Mm-hmm. For this model, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, like the E6, so you could break this apart and actually animate the linkages correctly, and we'll do actually a more complex example than this for the Firebox. But I actually don't remember the naming for this off the top of my head, so this is a good opportunity for me to say this is where you find all of the definitions for this stuff. So if we go into library, model component type, and if I start talking and forget to restate someone's question, please let me know, because I'm juggling a few things. And at some point I'm going to have to run and take a pie out of the oven. So just, you've been warned. I believe that's Admiral asks what type of pie, or, no, sorry, that was, yeah, I think that, anyways. Okay. Apple pie. But I'm doing it in cast iron, which is a little bit different. So here's the controls, but we're actually going to use a gauge. So a control is something that you want to click and drag and move. A gauge is something that is really just a read-only value based on the state of the locomotive, and it would allow you to move stuff. So a good, slightly more complex example is if I go to the E6, like a really nice breakdown is the reverser here. So this right here is reverser 1 rotate 10 times, effectively. 10 times 360. And that is the actual reverser 1 model. And then this piece right here is this is a gauge on the reverser, because I want this to do a separate translation. I don't want someone to be able to grab that and drag it back and forth. I want them to have to spin the wheel. So this is like the readout for this value, if that makes sense, hopefully. So that's why some stuff are controls and some stuff are gauges. Gauges users can't interact with, but you can use to read out different stuff. And if you guys, especially as more advanced physics are added, they're like things like RPM and other nonsense like that will be added to stuff like gauges as we go. So yes, definitely. So boiler physics is on the list of stuff that I want to do in like actual, or not actual, but closer than what I do now, steam physics. Okay, brake pressure X. So brake pressure followed by some sort of numerical identifier. So hopping back over here, instead of A5 brake shoe, this is going to be called brake pressure 1. And so this just means that this is now detected as a component that can move. And I'm going to call gauges components a lot of the time, because under the hood it's actually the same exact code. Just one, it's just where they get the control value from that's a little bit different. So brake pressure 1. So we can do translate X, or sorry, translate and then amount, which is 0.06 X. So theoretically now when brake pressure is applied either through the independent brake or the train brake, that should theoretically move. Now I don't know if that's the right direction. My workflow is I tend to do a bunch of changes to the model, boot it up on IR and see what axes are backwards. It should be deterministic, but it can be a little bit weird on how it detects that. So we'll get to the gauges. So let's do another couple simple ones. This does not have a... Let's see, is that it? I'm going to guess that's the train brake. So I'm going to say this one doesn't have independent brakes, just for the sake of this. So what I'm going to do is break this piece apart. So I want this to rotate around this. I want to use this piece as the pin, and this is the handle. Was there a question?
Given the fact that this is an A5 switcher, I'm pretty sure it doesn't even have a train that has an independent brake, because this would be used in a yard where they wouldn't
okay.
hook up the air brakes just to move an entire consist.
See, this is why I've got you guys here. Alright, so I'm going to break this out into its own group, and so now I've got these two things. So we'll call this the independent, so this will be gotta spell independent brake 1. And because this is the rotation point, we would put the rot on here. So let's say rot 45 degrees. And this will be actually, copy this, just so I don't have to type that whole thing again. There we go. So independent brake 1, and then this is where it rotates around. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm also going to scale this. Oop, nope. Oh, I need to do period? Nope. Blender. I want to do local scale? No. Yeah, so I want to move the cursor to that point, right? Or actually, I want to scale it around the... really I just need to...
Oh yeah. Shift S. Press to select.
Thank you.
No. With, but you really press it to.
Oh, I gotta do...
Legend pins. Yeah, legend pins that with stuff into it.
Yep.
What they mean. Right click on the
I'm
object.
good.
You gotta set up origin key geometry.
Okay, so I'm gonna make it a... Go that and then... Move it back down a little bit. Again, this isn't perfect. But now it's very obviously more extended in one dimension than the other. So this will be detected as rotating around that point. This will then rotate around that. So that's that piece. So let's then do the throttle as well while we're in here. I think the reverser, I'm not sure. We'll see. There we go. Let's do... If I do period on that... Okay, so now I'm rotating around that. Okay. So this one is a lot simpler than the other one, so I may actually have to add some geometry to get this to work. Yeah, because this doesn't have a pin in it. So this piece rotates around here, so we'll need a rotation point here. And so this we can start off as saying throttle 1, and this piece will gauge throttle 1 TL. I believe what axis is that? Yep, there we go. So this is going to be, that's 0.1x. 0.1x. Okay. And based on that, I think this also has to be a... Nope. Brakes. Let's try making this negative as well. I'm also going to mute Minecraft in the background because it is decided to rain. There we go. Let's do that. Alright. So this one's going to be a little bit fun. So you guys are going to get to see how bad at Blender I actually am. Let's see if I do that. Actually, if I just copy... No. I can just... Can I go wireframe? Okay. So now that's just a box there. Going back to this. So I just want to turn this into a pin. Ah. Okay, so I'm going to scale... Oh, and this is funky because it's not aligned to a axis. That's fun. Let's see, modelers. Actually, what I can do is can I G this along? There we go. Again, this is going to be made smaller, so it doesn't matter too much. But as long as there we go. There we go. So I'm just moving this here. I'll do that to there. Same on the other side. Yeah. This is... Should have paid a little bit more attention to the model before I did this. Why can't I select that face? Right, I better do that. Oh, I guess there is no back face. That's fun. So I'm just trying to turn this into a pin that's aligned to the same axis. I'm doing an absolutely terrible job at it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is back to wireframe mode. Move that. there. Move that in a little. This one in a little. Okay, there we go. That is not ideal, but it will work for our purposes. Alright, so that is roughly where that needs to rotate. Is that good enough? Let's move it forward just and hide it. Just a little bit smaller so it's hidden. Okay, here we go. So this is now throttle rot. What do I usually do for this one? This one was, so this one's a lot simpler. This is what I was expecting. I only took a quick look at the model beforehand. There we go. Now we can rotate around this. Yeah. So this was what was in the other model. I was hoping for something like that, but that doesn't actually exist here. Oh, awesome. Did I actually delete that piece? Well, now it's back. Alright. And that's there, and the other one. Back to wireframe mode so I can select that. That was... Do that same sort of thing. So, it may or may not have the same results, so that should be okay. Alright, so that should mean the throttle's wired up. We'll do the reverser in a little bit. I just want to see if this stuff works. We'll also do some of these gauges and the Firebox doors. But let's export this. Switcher. And now I'm going to have to quit and start that back up again. While I'm doing this, any questions on what I've done so far? Modelers? Okay. Alright, booting up. So, Larky just asked, oh, come on, Minecraft. Larky just asked if you can have dual gauges in the new user interface rework branch. And the answer is yes. You can have as many gauges as you want for a given readout. So you'd have... Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have American engines have a gauge which has like 4 moving arrows in one gauge, so I think will help you out as well.
That shouldn't be too bad, Admiral. It's having different overlapping elements. Oh, I broke something. Okay, so I didn't actually export that correctly, but we'll fix that next time. Hey, throttle's working, so... Alright, sweet. That's pretty good. And so if we come over here, and let me change my GUI scale so I can actually see what I'm doing. And turning on numlock helps. There we go. So if you now you can see the brakes apply. And yes, I know they're not the most realistic, but they do work. So that was too bad. Some of the naming for like when you're putting them on wall shirts and stuff gets a little bit funky, but it shouldn't be too bad. Oh, I'm gonna take a quick jog over and check on my Pi, make sure I'm not burning it. Okay, I'm back. Pie is looking fantastic. Probably take it out in another 10 minutes or so. Alright. Alright, so the next thing is reversers. So let me, before I do that, let's hop over here, save this, and then do the export again, and so I'd fix the material file. And that would be path mode. I'm just going to do strip path for now. And that should fix that. Okay, so all the controls worked right out of the box. A lot of the time you'll have to go back through and change the rotation degrees, but so far we got pretty lucky. So the next thing I'm going to do is do the reverser. Reverser 1. And now I need to tell it where it needs to rotate around. So I'm just going to add a cube and do some horrible things. Add cube. What is... Okay, modelers who are on here. I clicked add cube and it gave me this... Do I have to... Oh! That's new. So I think I'm going to add it. No, this is actually fine. Alright, so that is going to be 1 rot. What do I usually do? We'll see. Well, let's just do, so, oops. 90 would be 40. Yeah, let's just do 90. Let's see how that works. And so I'm going to... so I need to bring that all the way down there. Just making sure that's reasonably centered. Why? There we go. Okay, that should be good. So I should get the reverser working. We're also going to do the fun stuff after we test this out, which is going to be the water glass and these gauges. And the Firebox. Yeah. File, export, object.
Yeah, water glass is definitely probably going to be the most interesting part
Yep.
here.
It's actually...
Would it be possible to go over... I noticed in the documentation it said about applying labels to things. Like, would it be
yes.
possible to go over that? Because I was having some trouble.
Definitely. So we can... I'm thinking... I might do the Firebox next, because I actually do have this working with the... actually, I can just do a quick preview. Is... so, like... These... So, here we go. Widget 5, label Firebox. So, for each of the pieces, you just put label Firebox on there. And it should just work.
Can you apply that to things like gauges and stuff? Because
I'll have...
you know, if you've got two gauges that look pretty similar, it's good to have a label on them.
Yeah. That is a good question. I actually don't know.
I tried it on a gauge and it didn't work, but
Okay.
I'm not certain if it's me doing something wrong or not.
Okay. And sorry, who's asking that question?
Me?
Ah, Bowmaker. Sorry.
Me.
I don't know all the names yet. So you're asking about having a label on a gauge.
Yes.
Let's go to post render, which is where this is label plus state. Okay. Part.type. Okay, so what I could do is, oops. And we can do an example of this. We can do a default case where we can say, label. Actually, trying to remember how this works. So this is break. So that's the post render. Model ID stream. So this is the in range, that's the bounding box, transform. So I'm seeing where it usually dumps out. Maybe I don't call post render on the... Yeah, okay, so what I do is I don't call post render on this, so we can modify the code real quick. Get readouts for each post render. Okay, so now what we're going to do is do a default. This is going to be my favorite code ever, but it should work. Copy that. Move this up here. Okay, so if a label isn't specified, don't do the post render. Otherwise, I can move this up here so we don't do this stuff twice. Sorry, my mouse is a little bit droopy these days. So technically that's... Put a break there. Okay. That should work. So we can actually do this now and test this code out. Let's come down here. Let's add a readout to this. Test readout. Support object, switcher, and let's boot that up. I think that should work. That might actually not do what I want. I might need to move this to a different part of the code. Yeah. It'll work, but it won't exclude ones that I want it to exclude. And then we can get back into the modeling side of things. Okay, independent break. Let's try out the reverser. There we go. Nice. It's not clipping into anything. Percentages look good. Nice. Alright, break is there. So, if we come over here, test readout 0%. Bring up the break, test readout, there we go. The problem is other stuff, like the throttle gauge, I think will be broken as well. Or, I guess that's showing throttle. It should be... Find first, or else. Let's do, or else null. Is used down here. Label equals null. Okay. It's a little bit janky, but that should work. So if the label is specified, use the label. Otherwise, if we've gotten this far, format the label and put it in there. Okay. Cool. That will be in the next test build / the release. I'm not sure which one's going to happen first. Yeah. Just making sure that didn't actually duplicate. Cool, so let's get some of this stuff moving, because this is where the fun and magic starts really happening. Alright, so I'm also going to reference this stuff just to make life easier. Yeah, widget 1, label Firebox. That. And I'm going to do that, and then I'm also going to make sure I understand. Why is the axis weird? Alright, so it's about that far, so that's 0.2. Yeah, let's just say that's 0.2. So we'll just make this 0.1 and 0.1z. Alright, so let's take a quick look at this. So this is widget number with a label, control group Firebox, so these are all linked together. So you can grab either of these pieces, and all of the states for these controls are linked together. And then this is what this piece actually does. So the next thing we need to do is break some of these parts up a little bit. So this one is going to rotate around this point, this one's going to rotate around this point. And I think this should actually be part of this piece, but I'm just going to skip over that for now. I'll let someone else fix that later. So that becomes its own object. Oops. Tab. And this one is the rotation point. That goes into its own object. Okay. And I'm just going to steal these from this model. So this one is widget 3. Widget 3 rot point. So, because these are both part of widget 3, they only need one label inside of here. This one is widget 5. And this one, I'm technically hacking this. This isn't like an actual, like, proper linkage system. This is just saying move this piece a little bit in the Z direction as the Firebox control group is changed. And again, you can click and drag any of these components to make this thing actuate. So similar thing. There's also something that I do want to change, which I think has confused some modelers, and that's right now the rot part, rotate 45 degrees, that has to come directly after the number in the widget, door, window, whatever it ends up being, throttle. The rotation is only applied if it's effectively part of this name. Honestly, it wasn't the right call to do it that way, but that's the way I built it, and I will change it in such a way that it doesn't break any existing models that have been done so far, but we'll make it so you've put the ROT45 anywhere in the name, as long as it has an underscore at the beginning. So we have label Firebox, control group Firebox. Cool. So this was widget 4, so we name this widget 4. And I think that's everything. So this is, I'm just looking at the name up here, widget 2, widget 1, both of these translate a little bit. That's widget 3, that's widget 4, that's widget 3's rotation point, that is widget 4's rotation point, and widget 5 just moves a little bit back and forth. So let's give this a go while it's fresh in our minds. Switcher, and exported. So, and I do know that I am cheating a little bit by going off of an existing model, but hopefully just the running through that quickly helps. And then onto gauges, so water glasses and needles. So I think I'll do the needles first, and then we'll do the water gauge as the finale for this stuff. It's a little bit funky. It's not too crazy, but it's just due to the way that things are scaled and moved in this system, it's a little odd. And there we go. So throttle's still here. That's still not labeled. So now we have Firebox. Check that out. Alright, so that needs to move a little bit further. So again, I can click and drag on any of these points and move them. Which is pretty cool. Alright, so there's only a hair left in there, so let's do 1.1. 1.1, that should be close enough. Alright. The next question I have is, can I take something from one Blender file and copy and paste it using my buffer? So copy that. Hey, that works. That's going to save a fair amount of time. Alright. Oh. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to grab the pin it's attached to just to save myself some time. There we go. Copy that. Paste that. So now we're going to go... Alright, quick question. Let's do global. Go to there. I'm going to move that back, which is X. No. Bah. Yeah, you guys get to see why I make my models in SketchUp. Okay, that's getting closer. Now we're getting there. What should do is that way I'm rotating around it. And so I guess I can center it first. And then I could either apply a texture to this to hide this piece, or just put it back behind something where it's not going to be rendered or visible by the player, which I think I'm going to go with that. So this right here is gauge boiler pressure 1, and this is gauge boiler pressure 1 rotate -230. And so just for fun, let's put a label on this, because I'm curious what this is going to do. Label test label, or label percent. Let's just do boiler pressure. And then we'll grab both of these and just slide that back so you can't see it anymore. Okay. So that's the first part. The other one, and this gets a little bit more interesting, is this one over here. Now this one isn't constrained to an axis, so we're going to have to do some translations to get that to where we want it. And again, I'm sure all of you are screaming, going, why are you doing this poorly in Blender? But I've never actually... Alright, so let's down a little bit. Okay, that's getting there. Alright, let's go there for now. And then what do we want to do? First of all, I want to rename these real quick. So this has to be a separate pressure gauge. So we change this number to 2. So, or you could, as long as these are the same between these two right here, I could change this to 540. Or whatever number you want. I think I did that correctly. Yep. I'm going to get rid of the label on this one. Okay. So now we have to rotate these, and I may ask for some help from the modelers on that. Oh, no, actually that's the axis I do want. That is looking good enough. Yep.
Is that gauge a separate object from the pipe behind it, or is that...
It is a separate object.
Okay, so select the gauge.
Okay. Select engage.
Right click, click Windows Snap,
Snap.
then go down to cursor to selected.
Okay. Then do I need to change this to cursor?
Oh yeah, actually, hold on. Hold on a second here. Actually, go back up there and click Set Origin to Geometry, and then do that.
Snap.
So, no, so go up here, Set Origin. Go
Oh.
up to Set Origin, right click, click Set Origin.
Okay.
Up to
Oh, set origin.
Origin to Geometry,
Okay.
and then then right click again. Go down to Snap, and then do Cursor to Selected.
Okay. Okay, so now the... Okay.
Then you can snap that to the cursor. You can select you can do that, and then right click snap to cursor, and then that'll get you hopefully around the center of that object.
Yep, that looks pretty good. That's close enough. Alright, so the one thing I need to do is move it over a little bit. And then back it in. There we go. Thank you, Admiral. Okay. So.
You couldn't see, but I gave you a thumbs up.
Nice. Alright. I think these are from the same... Oh, and these are fun because they're angled. They're angled. Why are they angled? I may not do the water glass. Oh, I should. I should see how hard this is going to be to do an angled water glass. Awesome. Alright. Okay.
I checked mine, but I think mine might be angled too.
Okay. I think that'll work. You might just need to get the translation correct. It'll just be harder. So let me go over the E6 first. So the way this works is it starts off scaled to 0, which means this whole thing... Actually, let me tab into it. A scale. Yeah. Yeah. So it starts off scaled to 0. So that would be at the bottom. And as it gets bigger, it scales all the way up to the full size, which is 1. So what you have to do is, as you're scaling it, you also have to move it upwards in the gauge. So this one, the actual name is Gauge Liquid 1, translate 0.08y scale 1y. So this right here is half of the height, and this is just scaling the full size. So if we look at this, it's like it's 0.16 meters high. So that means we need to translate half of that in the y direction. So as it gets bigger, we move the center of the object up. So let's paste that in here. Move it over to this. I think I'm going to do the same thing the Admiral had me do here. Set origin. Origin to geometry. Snap cursor to selected. Okay.
Then if you right click that object, right click that.
This one?
Go to the water.
Oh.
Then you can selection the cursor. So go up to snap and go do selection to cursor.
Oh, cool.
Right, it's already positioned. All you need to do is right click.
Oh, interesting. Alright, so if I go... Yep, not what I wanted. That's going to be... I think something's happening weird with the scale. I'm just gonna position it manually. Okay, so that's getting it close. Switch it back to that so I can see what I'm doing. Should have been doing it in this mode. Alright, that is very close. So this is going to be fun. I'm also hoping that these are the same size. They may not be. Okay. You know what's going to be easier is I'm actually going to delete that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this. And rename this to... Alright. I'm just going to use the same naming from this one. Alright, so that's not going to be exactly correct, but we'll have to fiddle with that. So the scale is right, but now I need to actually modify it. So how do I select everything but this? Select invert. There we go. Boom. Okay. And now I'm going to set the texture on this. I'm going to actually remove all these. Water. Get rid of this. Oh. Can't do that in edit mode. Okay. If I move that out of the way, that is right where it needs to be. The fun part, though, is now I'm going to need to move that. Okay, so, well, this will effectively tell me how I need to move it. I'm going to move it on the Y, so I can see the center of that, so it can come down to here. Let's undo that. I'm going to come down how far? Let's say 0.8 in the Y. And that's going to be there. 0.2. TL. I need to take. Oh shit! I need to take the pie out of the oven. Alright, I'm back. Pie's out of the oven. It did not burn. So we're all set. Alright, let me make sure the... Let's see, is the stream still working? Yes, it is. Cool. And there were some comments in the stream as well. Okay. What did I say? 0.02? 1. Ah, crap. Do you guys remember the numbers I just said? I don't. I'm gonna... Okay. Let's do that again. So we're gonna go down to here, which is 0.08. And then this is to the right there. 0.2. Okay. So that's now 0.4, because this one's smaller. Or, no, that is 0.8. Yes. This is TL 0... Oh, no, gotta make sure I do this right. It's TL 0.02 X. I believe X is the right axis. Alright. And actually that's going to be negative X. Okay, so it's as it scales it bigger, it's going to move it closer and closer to the center. I don't actually know if this is going to work. So, let's find out together. Export object, 5 switcher, save and quit to title, and boot it back up. Alright, let's see. Any questions in Michaelis? Let's see. Yeah, Sebastian and Mizco are both working on... I think Sebastian's actually got it working in-game, working on some of the custom user interfaces, which is pretty cool. Lots of multitasking today. It's a good question. What else is going to be covered in this stream? So we went over this. I do want to talk a little bit about lighting to wrap things up, but I think I'm just gonna. There's a little bit more to do, and then I think I'm gonna be done. I might make the Windows slide just for fun. Something's not happy. Let's see what's going on. Pause. Oh, I know why. This is the bug that was in... Okay, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to other branch. What was the branch name? I think it was the GUI redesign one. It's the latest one. No, control automation fixes. This is the one where I fixed that. Hopefully this isn't too bad of a diff. It is not. Okay. So, for those of you who saw that whole lockup, that was something that Sebastian helped me identify, where if a part was small enough, it would, or if something was detected incorrectly, it would, when it was trying to figure out if the mouse was over it, it would infinite loop, because it would just round something down to 0 and iterate, incrementing by 0 each time, which would never break it out of that loop, which is fun, but that's been fixed. Let's see, let's come back over here. Let's see. Admiral sent me some messages. I'm not going to pull up our DMs while I'm sharing. Fingers crossed. There we go. That's looking better. So we've got gauges. Both of those look good. Though one thing I didn't do is the max pressure, max PSI, which I don't actually have here. This isn't going to be adjusted for the PSI. So, alright, that looks wrong to start. But let's start hot firing this locomotive and see what happens. So that's 6 buckets. That's sort of working. I guess it also needs to scale a little bit in the other dimension as well. I'm going to turn off infinite liquid. Debug, infinite liquid's false. Some empty buckets. Do this. This also might explode in my face. We'll see. Oh, it's also maxed out at... Oh, so this maxes out at 185 psi. But we're actually at 205. So 85 is there. So we're going to remove like 15 degrees off of that. Off of those gauges. And these are... Gauge boiler pressure, instead of 230, we'll set that to 210. And same thing here. 210.
Well, on the gauge, the max limit.
Correct. Alright, so let's think about how... So this is currently squishing in this direction. So we actually want to set this to scale... 1x. That, I don't know if that's going to do what I want or not. Let's give that a try. I may actually have to come back to this later. We'll see if this works or not. I may need to revisit how that scale works or add an additional flag. Let's see, so the actual code for scale is inside of where we compute the matrix, which is this right here. So scale translates it to the center of the object. Scales and then translates back. So value percent. Yeah, I don't think this is how I want this. I may need to modify this code. Alright, so it's working, but not how I'd like it. See how it's getting bigger? So it does move roughly to where it needs to be, but scaling it down, it's not proportional. So I think I'm actually going to have to revisit this code and see what happens. Yeah. Well, this was a good test. It shouldn't be that bad. So this one's pretty straightforward. This one won't change. But when you're mixing two different scale values together, I think it needs to do it differently. I think that sort of. That gets a little screwy. Let's see. What I think I can do is I think this is going to be... So what this really needs to be is... maybe where it starts... It needs...
That'll give you an incorrect reading on the glass itself, because the water would stay level, but the water glass itself has a gauge on the inside that says, "Hey, this is where you're at in terms of that." So it'll give you an incorrect reading.
All right.
Ground shape. It's angled. Like how is it angled like with the back head like angled forward, or is it angled to the sides of the engine? That can be compensated for in terms of like you can angle the gauge side to accommodate that. Not angled like this where it's angled with the back head. Where it's not actually giving
I
you
think the two cases are the same, basically.
Okay.
It doesn't matter which way it's angled, it's still the same.
I think this will work right here. I'm just gonna get rid of these. Replace X, Y.
quick question. Is your back heads on your engine on your steam engines vertical? Yeah. backend on this one is angled forwards. So the water is leaning against the back of a water glass and not giving you a proper reading if the water glass is modeled correctly. So it would get to make it seem like the water is actually higher in an engine with the water glasses angled forward than they actually are.
So for those of you on YouTube, if you can't hear that, Admiral's currently talking about how water glasses like this in real life don't actually work like this. Like, angling them forward would do some weird stuff. But I think I did find a solution. So I don't know if you guys saw in the background, but I modified this code so that it's now proportional. So if you say scale 0.5, it will start at 0.5 and then scale up to 1, which I think makes a heck of a lot more sense. So what we can do is, I gotta do some true. So this is a 2 to 8 slope, which is what in degrees? Let's just say it's like, well, it's 2 to 8, so that actually works. So if we set this to scale 0.8y and scale, actually, sorry, 0.2y, 0.8, or no, 0.2x, 0.8y. So this will say, yeah, I think that'll work. Object file. Actually.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, if you look at Michaelis, like, Sebastian, like,
That's how
difference. Yeah. Because, like, I can see, like, yes, they're angled inward, so, so it's still technically a vertical glass, but it's, in terms of, like, the actual gauge itself, like, yes, it's angled inward, quote unquote, like, like, you're looking at it from the actual back end looking towards the front engine, yes, it's angled, but that's not the same, it's not angled to where the water level is actually affecting the reading of the gauge itself, because the gauge is still vertical.
Yes. So you can see
Sebastian's not understanding how the different angles will actually affect it, because the angle, because that's vertical instead of, I'm talking about, like, angling the water glass back against the back head angle. Yeah. The back head is actually angled, which will fuck it up.
Well, that's sort of what I wanted to do.
Like, how that's working,
Yeah, I'll just have to play with that. We will get something that works, but it's definitely a little screwy. Balance. Just gonna leave this on for now because I've futzed with this. This isn't like I've modified like the loco heating config just a little bit. So this one's still okay. So that's looking pretty good. So let's do the lighting in front. That's something to take a quick look at. And I'll probably do a follow-up. Alright, so I'm actually going to copy it from the other one just because I have an RGB value that I like, that I've been using for all these. But actually, does someone, while I'm doing this, want to give me a custom like light flare for this? Because I haven't actually tested that yet, and I'd like to see that. Alright, so now I've named this headlight 1, and that should work. Also, while I'm in here, I'm going to make it so you can open up the smoke box, just for craps and giggles. Let's do extract this, and ooh, that is some interesting geometry there.
Oh, Cam, quick question. How would you do this? So look in
Okay.
See how it has 4 water glosses, 2 at a lower level than the upper 2?
Mm-hmm.
How would you do that so like it would actually obey like actual water physics in which like the level if it was above that lower water glass?
That's an interesting question.
That's how they do it. They're essentially
Yeah.
making it a longer water glass.
Yeah. Um, I don't actually know. Um, yeah, I think that.
Most of my big articulated locomotives have something like this.
Yep.
That's a model.
I think the answer for excuse me for now is just get the bottom one working, and have that be for like have it only come up to that level on that one, which isn't perfect or realistic, but at least gives you an initial idea. But yeah, so this, I think scale, and especially how these gauges work. Let's talk afterwards on that. I've got some other stuff I need to do tonight, but let's talk this week and figure that out. Because between the angled ones and this, there's definitely something that needs to be easier to do. Yeah. Okay. Let's see if the light works. That didn't work. Did I remember to export it? Let's see, I named that correctly. Here. Export object. Nope. It's not an object file. And boot up Immersive Railroading. Well, I'm glad I chose this model, because it definitely had some weird quirks in it. Okay. So, and I've got to figure, there's a bug right now where sometimes it does not automatically figure out the correct size of the light flare. So that needs to be fixed. But other than that, you can see that it actually does sort of work. So let's throw a custom lens flare or light flare on this locomotive just for fun on the E6. Okay, anyone have a good? It's just, cause I'm not going to commit this, but light flare images. Yeah, something like this. That's vector art, so that might work. Unless anyone has one that they can post in Mic List that's better. I wanted that exact one. Okay, it's this right here. Ah. Why don't I just modify the existing one? Unless any of the modelers have a better light flare somewhere? Got an SVG. There we go, that one looks nice. There's a few of them. That right there. Yeah, let's just try this one. do open image in new tab. This might be a little bit off. Yeah, you guys are still talking about the the stuff over there. Let's see, did I? Are you guys talking? Oh, I can't hear you. There we go.
I'm typing it still. It doesn't bug up your
I had accidentally muted that. Okay, let's just grab this one. Open with GIMP. Oh, that's fun. It's not actually transparent. Ugh. Could one of the modelers help me find a better light flare that we can just toss in real quick? You know what? Let's just do something stupid.
Hold on, give me a second here. I'm trying to find something stupid.
Okay. Open image. Just gonna make an Nyan cat. What animal post?
I messaged you.
Can you put it in Mikeless?
Oh yeah, sure.
Alright, just do add an alpha layer. Okay, no, that works. Alright, open original. I have no idea what this is gonna do. Alright. Yeah, I'll have to make it transparent.
I had one somewhere. I'm not sure where it's at. That was. I'm looking for it.
Alright. Ah, crap. Open with GIMP.
Hold on. I have a better one. This one actually is transparent. Has transparent background.
There we go. This is good enough. Right. Okay. Fine. We can use this one. Okay, we'll do this one second. We'll do all right. Railroading textures. Okay, tmwl.png. So let's pop open the E6 JSON. So that's Atlantic. Okay. Now I have to remember how to actually do this. I documented it. Let me pull up the documentation and go off of that. Toward the bottom. Lighting. Light number. This features controls. Did I not do an example in the JSON? Ah, yes, here we go. Lights block. Headlight 1. Routing, textures. Okay. That should work. Let's see how this looks. Is my is Discord laggy? Just looking at Sebastian's GIF. Hopefully it's not too bad.
Not inherently. No.
Okay, cool. Let's see. I mean, the question is, how is my computer doing? I'm only using 13 gigs of RAM and got plenty of cores free. Alright, let's see if that image works. Cross your fingers. How's that, Admiral? Interestingly enough, it actually inverts it. Yeah. Yep. That's pretty funny. And the fun part is it's actually like tinting it. So let's add a reverser color just for craps and giggles. Let's go back over here. Reverse color. Alright, let's just make it bright red. And let's make it blink as well. Why not? Just make it blink once a second. This won't be super annoying at all. Oh dear. It looks like. Is it still? Okay. It is. Okay, sorry. I got my icons mixed up. Alright, while I'm in here, is there anything else that you guys want to see? See, and I'll pull up mic list as well for the people who don't have a mic. Modelers, anybody?
Okay, I tried.
Okay.
Yep, I give up. I tried to speak, didn't happen. Yeah, no.
Yep. What's today?
Said mile.
Yep. That is I can do Firebox lighting. Yes, Sebastian, I know that's broken. How many stay bolts do you have, Admiral? Couple hundred? Couple thousand? There we go. That's a lot of stay bolts. 400. So, Admiral, take a quick look at this. Because it's moving backwards, tints the whole thing red. And it's blinking! And now it's back to blinking like that. Okay. Firebox lighting. Yeah, let's do that. That's a good example. to add a new texture for that.
We're gonna have the boiler segments for safe, like wherever you're putting in the stable, to be like in banks, not actual, each individual stable banks we use.
Alright, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to do a hack where I'm going to copy this door, move it over on the... I gotta set this back to global. Y. Do that so it covers both. Edit it real quick. Oh. How do I unlink these? Oh. Okay, no, that's fine. Delete that. And delete this thingy. So now we just have like a blank thing. So I'm going to change the... I'm actually going to get rid of that. Create a new texture. And I'm just going to set it to... excuse me, color. What's a good Firebox glow color? Let's just do that for now. And we're going to move it back in a little bit. Move it down. And so that's not perfect. And honestly, if I cared more, I would go through and like add some depth so it's like you can actually see some of the stuff inside. But if I export this right now, that won't look any brighter than what you'd imagine. So what we can now do is get rid of this and name it Fulbright. Here's a question. Do I have any readouts? I could actually set that to boiler temperature, I think, if that's a valid control. I don't actually have one that would work. You could set it to temperature and just have it so that when it hits full temperature, then that unhides, but I'm just going to have it like that. Okay, let's export object. And spin that up. So that blinking headlight is just it's just a standard headlight. So looping animations, it's harder than I thought, and honestly I need to add some, like an actual logic layer for stuff like that, instead of the hack I showed in the last live stream. So, yeah. There definitely needs to be a way of having like control groups affect control groups, and being able to add some much more complex logic in there. But I don't think that's going to come out in this release, in the 1.10 release. Maybe 1.11 or 1.12, depending on what's going on there. Okay, that's back to blinking. And actually this is this locomotive. There we go. This will also look better if I do times set night and toggling down full. So that does... It is emissive, and if I booted this up with shaders, this would be like an actual like emissive light source in here. Or it would glow a lot more. Let me just change the color real quick to a little bit of a more brighter yellow. Let's try that on for size. And boot this back up. Ah, here we go. That's a nice one. Let's open original. Save that. Ah. Sorry, I didn't know that. Okay. let's take a look. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Bloop, 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 bloop. I just enjoy playing with these. Alright. Yeah, that looks decent. And again, if you have shaders on, this is a much more pronounced effect. Also, if there was depth to this, it would look better as well, instead of just being a sheet behind for the demo. Pop over here. And right, I wanted to see this. Oh, that's still the old version. I gotta reboot for that. Getting pinged in general. There we go, Michaelis. Come on. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. And I think if it's not burning, it actually turns down the color. But it would be nice to be able to like hide something like that. So maybe that'll be another gauge that you can add, or another readout you can add, to be able to turn off like the interior of the Firebox. There we go. That looks pretty derpy, Sebastian. This one I think will look pretty cool. There we go. Just gotta restart Minecraft.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, so just rigid stable servers right now, on one side of the Firebox I'm looking on, 240. I'm not looking for this.
Hmm. You know what we can also do is we can add a lever in the cab to turn this light on and off. That would probably be a... Did I not? Oh, I didn't copy the right file. Durr. That'd probably be a good thing. It's like adding a... like when you turn one of those knobs, it turns on or turns off the front headlight, just for fun. Alright, so what we can do is set this to CG front... Come on. Light. Or, no. That stays the same. We want to set this to LCG front light. Okay, so now this is based on light control group front light. And now we'll make one of these things spin. What about this one? Is there a good... Let's period this. Okay, yeah, we can work with this. We'll do that in just a sec. Alright. That light flare is looking pretty good. It's a little small, but you can always futz with that a little bit. Yeah. Okay, let's head back. Head back over here. All right. So, what we did is we set our headlight to be LCG, so light control group front light, and come into here. Let's edit this real quick. I just want to grab this as the rotation point. this will be widget 77, just picking a number, rot 360, CG front light. I think that's what I called that one. Front light, yes. Widget 77. Cool, so hopefully that's a pretty familiar pattern. You set your rotation point on here, and a potential control group, and then you can set your widget. And technically you can put the CG line on either of these. Like this, like I could do that. Oop, and do that. Not a space there, yep. So let's export this, and I might need to invert the light control. I'm not sure. We'll see. And booting up. Okay, Special wants to see how I change the light flare again. So headlight 1, and here's the, so I just set a texture here. I can copy the, I'm going to set it back to the Admiral's logo. And this is all recorded, so you should be able to hop back in and take a look at this anytime. And yeah, I do need to figure out how to do the water glass properly this week. So that's now on the blocking list for the release. So yeah, okay. So right now on this one, the headlight is off, and this is this widget, right? Okay. Now the headlight's on. Check that out. Ta-da! And if I turn that off a little bit, it's still on. So I guess it's the... It has to be completely off for that to come off. Yeah. Pretty nifty. Again, so... Just going over that for anyone who didn't see it the first time. So this is a widget rotation point, widget 77 rotate 360. This is widget 77 control group front light. And this headlight with this default color is set up to the light control group front light, which is pretty cool. So this is like reading the value of front light and using that to control the light value. If I just did CG front light, that wouldn't really do anything. Let's see. More people are typing. Oh, excuse me. Yes, it does. Yeah, it does activate and deactivate the dynamic lighting. Okay, let's see. Says, okay, I've been streaming for a while. I'll probably hop off in a little bit. Just last few questions. Was there anything else on this model to update? And this is the E6. So we went over some of the gauges, which is hopefully pretty straightforward now. Brakes, general controls. I think that's most of it. Trying to see if there's anything else that we want to do. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't like the headlight flare effect, you can just use like a 1x1 empty pixel PNG for that, which is pretty cool. Yeah, this wall shirts is very unhappy. but it sort of works.
Yeah, no.
Alright, well, I think it's dinner time here. Oh, one thing to mention that I forgot to do is you see how this whole area is lit up? Like the boiler and a bunch of other, like the shell. If I wanted to change that, so this right now is using the default lighting using the old scheme. What you want to do is come over here, set this to interior, and I'm also going to do the same thing with this stuff. Is it interior or internal? I always forget. This is why I wrote documentation. Yes, interior. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, you'd actually want to separate this stuff into two, but to make it not light up the whole model at night. So this is what it looks like now. I'll take a screenshot. Save and quit. Oh, that was the wrong model. Cab interior. Actually, I think that's all I need to do. That should work. Checked. And this should fix the E6 as well. And you could actually like have an interior wall and an exterior wall, have that be two different groups, and you'd have lighting on the inside and no lighting on the outside. Oh yeah, the Re460. I don't currently have that loaded up, and I'm maybe next stream I'll pull that up. Yeah, I've played around with it a little bit before. Sebastian's done some pretty incredible work there. Okay, so now you can see the cab is still up, and I can pull up the screenshots. Nope, this is when I built a starship in Space Engineers. That was fun. Anyways, run screenshots. Here we go. So this is before, after, before, after. So you can see how that's still lit up, but the windows now are not. So if you wanted the windows to be lit up as well, sorry, this is the wrong model, you'd rename that. I kind of want to make moving windows. I'm still got a little bit of gas left in the tank. So I'm gonna copy paste. Actually, yeah, I'll do that. That.
Let's get going.
Okay.
Good night, Seattle.
Alright, see ya. So I'll do that. And I don't know why these are so weird. Okay. So now that window is now just separate. Delete that. Okay. So now we have this. And what I want to do is, within the window pane, I'm going to move it just a little bit here so it's next to this one. Do the same thing with this one. There we go. That's good. So now we just name this widget 48. Oh. Oh, I'm out of coal. There we go. I just heard that go off in the background. TL, and X is toward me. Let's just do 1X for now, and let me figure out what that's actually going to be. So if we do that, so closed is to here-ish, which is, if I'm looking at the measuring tape, say 0.4. 4X. Copy that name. And this will be widget 49. Alright. Export. Object file. Export. Yes. Yeah, the lighting with shaders looks fantastic. Oh, right! I should... Yes, that was a bad example. Let me do this correctly. I forget that windows are are a thing. I just thought... Started using widgets for everything. Set that to window 1. Set this to window... I can spell it correctly. Window 2. And I can actually make these... Let's do these as well, just for giggles. Technically, I'd want to add a rotation point for these. So I'm not going to do that. Well, I can do that now. Yeah, this is going to be a hack. So what I can do, I can separate that out. This is... For those of you watching or playing along at home, this is the wrong way to do it. You should actually add a pin in a window frame and all that fun stuff. So we'll set this to window 3, window 4, spelled that correctly, window 3, rot 90. I don't know which one of these is going to be correct. So we'll just do both and see. 4 rot. Okay. So export that. Yeah. It depends on which way the normal is detected for this. So sometimes it does invert it, which is a little bit weird. So I got like right side versus left side of the model. It's deterministic, so it always chooses the same, regardless of what machine you're running on, or if you delete it and restart it. But the logic's a little strange. Woo! Look at that. Look at how fancy that is. Technically the window's not big enough, but you get the idea. There we go. So that rotates open. That's pretty nifty. What about that one? This one rotates inward. I don't know which I'd... Let's see. They should rotate out, right, Admiral? Or whoever's still around?
Depending on the design, some even have windows that rotate, that even rotate.
Yep.
And they're tapped. Some rotate around the central axis. Some rotate some rotate outwards. Some rotate toward the casement door, so they casement windows, so they rotate via the top axis.
Interesting.
The openings on top. So it's just depending on.
Okay. Well, I think I'm just going to go with this for now because it's It's simple enough. So, so it was this one that we want to do negative 90. It's on the other side. And I think I'll do one more last check for questions after this. But I think that'll probably wrap it up for tonight.
Cam, I may or may not push the parks naming convention to its limits and then some.
What did you do, Admiral?
It's more what I'm prepping to do.
Okay. So, for those of you who are watching this after the fact, I don't know if you can hear from my earphones or not, but Admiral's threatening to completely overwhelm the component system for some reason. Are you going to have, like, stay bolts that you can unscrew? Or something crazy like that?
Technically they're welded in, and you really weld it into the Firebox sheet, so no.
Okay.
Look in Patreon chat.
Alright. Where is that?
Progress so far.
Dude. It's a good thing I optimized the rendering code quite a bit. I think this will probably take the place of the Patreon stream this week. Most of what I'm working on is just wrapping up stuff for the next release. And I'd rather focus on that. I also have a friend visiting, so all goes well. Hopefully next weekend is when I'll be able to put out the put out 1.10. Can I check out the RE460 real quick? Sure, why not? Resource run packs. Let's pull that down. Oh, okay. Just gonna go back to the main menu for this. Resource packs, voxel trains.
Hello.
Hey, Rung. Rung just hopped in the chat. So I think this is one of the longer streams I've done. But hopefully this shouldn't take. Oh yeah, that wasn't too bad at all. All right. It's the 460 is what I'm taking a look at.
I'm playing a lot of Insanity at this point, so sorry, Cam, I'm so
All right.
Is this your A5 retrofitting stream?
Yep.
this is really big
All right. Okay, so
Best deck prediction.
you can see there's some fun stuff with the lighting that's been done.
the moment where I have no idea exactly where all my tables are in extra mode.
Oh, I know why. Because I did something stupid. Did I? Oh, this is my fault. Because I was playing around with this as well.
Yeah. Cam, remember how I said it's probably gonna be something like 400 stable?
Yeah, I remember how you said about 400 stay bolts.
I have 427 flexible stables on that just about one side.
Damn.
I'm having you finish the tables around the mud ring now.
So that's going to be close to 1,000 stay bolts.
Or 2,000.
Yeah. Alright, so I'll have to press that tiny 1x1 button to do that for fun. Just above the reverser. Booting up, booting up, booting up. The worst part is this whole house smells like pie. So I've been sitting here with my mouth watering for the past hour.
That's bad.
I tried for the first time to make it in cast iron instead of a pie dish. Ooh, fancy gooey. I will. Okay. Reverser? Is this the... Oh, lighting. Ooh, so that turns the cab lighting on and off. That's pretty cool. So, yeah, Sebastian's got some... can help quite a bit with this, so... It's a reverser setup. Let's add some diesel. Just for fun. Hey, and your gauge is looking pretty good down there. Bloop. Alright, and so you were wondering how big it looked like on a normal screen. So this is the resolution I usually play at. Alright, so reverser forward. Or backwards. I think I've got the brake turned on one of these. Yep, yeah, Wrong's asking if it's going to be saved as a video. Yeah, it's currently set up as, why is that not? Set up as a YouTube stream. Oop, that is, holy cow, that's fast. Clonk. Alright. Cool, so you can see throttle. Okay, train brake, independent brake. Let's see, those should be in here somewhere. Chair. Does the spinny spin. Which should work a fair bit better now, hopefully.
Now it doesn't have a windshield wiper. That's what
I
I'm
don't think yet. Alright. So cool, so you can modify the train brake and independent brake separately.
And you know what I thought of?
What?
You know how the bell, you have bell animated, like swing animated bell swinging?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do a multi-purposing that for the windshield wiper.
So the bell code I never actually committed. I decided that it needed to be a lot more fleshed out before. Pantographs. Whee! That's pretty cool. This part? Yeah, I'm just hanging out. Okay. I think that's gonna do. Actually, let me pull up, if you don't mind, the JSON for that. But all right, I think I can pull that up here. Project run. Resource packs, voxel trains, assets. Alright, 460. Okay. Oh, so you're not even using any of the any of the reverser like lighting control stuff. Oh yeah, because you're doing it that way. So what we'd actually need to do is open up the model in Blender. So I'm actually going to do that real quick if you don't mind, because this will be a good wrap up in showing the full full power of the lighting control group system. No.
Full power of this fully armed and operational hyperstation.
Port object. No, that's not what it'd be. It'd be here. Bunch. Routing. Run. Means assets. Where's railroading? Models, rolling stock, locomotives. Yep. 60 object file. And switching this back over to that. Cool. So, alright, so if I look at the name on this, this is widget 90. So it's not actually a headlight, but it's a widget 90. So full bright, which means make it super bright. Effectively make it an emissive sort of texture. Control group reverser backward. So there's a couple magical control groups. Did I actually put that in here? I did not. I should document that. Go to project package view. Go to entity, or no locomotive. There we go. What's that called? Backward. Okay, so there's a couple special control groups like reverser, forward, neutral, and backwards, which you can use as readouts effectively. There's a few of them like that, but I really need to document that. So you can then tie into that in your model, and that's set up as hide and invert. This one is set as reverser neutral hide invert, so you can show different components depending on what state the reverser is in. And if you wanted to actually have like Optifine style lighting where it actually casts light forward, and you didn't want the light flare, just depending on your preference, as we mentioned earlier, you could do like a 1x1 pixel blank image and use that as the texture. And I think this side, if I look at it, yeah, reverser neutral hide invert. Reverser forward. So this effectively just inverts the control scheme for these. So when it's going forward, the front lights turn on. When it's going backwards, the back lights turn on, and so on and so forth, which is pretty cool. Sebastian. Let's go back to Michaelis. Yeah, just swaps those. All right. Well, I think that is enough for tonight. This has been fun, and hopefully we'll do something like this again. And some of these updates that you see will be in the base mod in the next update. I'm updating some, probably not all of the base stock, just so that there's more examples where the controls work for people who are excited to use them. But I'm going to sign off for today, and I appreciate the modelers taking the time. And hope to see you in the next one. See ya. Oh, the doors. He wants me to look at the doors. Fine. That can take 2 more seconds. Look at the doors. Nice. Bloop. And right back out the other side. Okay.